Dun dun. Oh, I don't know what that guy was expecting there. I was expecting some other. I forgot my picture was over here in the corner. I'm messing with the picture in picture. Hey, my friends, welcome to the Reflections Podcast. Hope you're all doing well today. Trying out a new camera setup. So far, I'm liking it. So far, it's pretty cool. Utilizing all the different features I have available to me. Anyway, glad for those that are returning to tune in. Glad for, you know, to talk about this subject that is impacted my life and impacts the lives of people every single day of the week. I'm still talking about addiction, continuing my story about this. Um, Talking about ending the stigma on addiction. That's the whole reason for this, and why is that important? That's what we're going to cover tonight. Thank y'all for joining me. All right, so I wanted to share something, guys. Actually, I got the idea from this is from was watching a video by Bam Margera. I don't know if you remember that, but he's from Jackass, and honestly, I had a lot of great memories watching that show. But he's recently trying to get clean, and he's actually using medication assisted therapy, which honestly is the same route that I took whenever. Oh, hey Beth, appreciate you. It's the same route that I took when I quit doing hard drugs, and there's actually a lot of stigma against it, and I had no idea, and I didn't realize it until I was being a part of like the TikTok communities and all this stuff, that people have a really strong opinion about that. And I don't get why. I don't understand why anybody's the way they quit doing something, if it doesn't affect you, you know what I mean? Why are you so against it? But what medication assisted therapy is essentially you go to a doctor to help with your recovery, to help you quitting hard drugs. Like, for instance, methadone is commonly used to get people off heroin and opiates. And what you do is you go and they administer you a controlled dose. And then on top of that, you seek therapy through them. So the point of all of it is to get that, methadone actually blocks other opiates. So you can't get high from other opiates. Um, and while you're doing that, it keeps your mind, occupied, if you will, so that way you're not out using other hard drugs. And honestly, it saved my entire life. And I do realize that there's a dark side to those medications and a dark side to that therapy, because when you start going to these clinics, you are a customer. They don't really want you to leave. They're perfectly content with you going there for the rest of your life. And some people do. But I don't know. My opinion is, if that's what you need to stay off the hard drugs, that's what you need to stay off the hard drugs. For me, I wanted to be as far away from that place as I possibly could, so I wasn't around other addicts. So I tapered down as quick as I possibly could off freaking methadone, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to quit, because, like, what they don't tell you is that stuff gets right, like, into your bone marrow, man. That stuff's hard to quit. But I never realized there was so much stigma about that. So when I was reading all the comment threads about Bam Margera, he's like, "Oh, he's not really quitting," and there's so many people in the comment section not rooting for this guy, and to be a public figure like that and have your life on display, that makes it even harder to quit. Why do you think all these people struggle to quit and end up dying? Because the people around them, they have no support. Like, in the media, anytime they make mistakes, it's media publicity. They get destroyed. And it just pissed me off when I was reading the comments, because I'm like, this dude doesn't even have a chance to get better and be there for his kid, because people are so out rooting against him. That's something to remember. Like, if somebody's really trying to quit and better their lives, saying stuff like, "Oh, they'll never change, addicts will never change," or reminding them all the crap that they did while they were addicted, because you feel like you need to be talking to them from a level of moral superiority, is stupid. Because these people are trying to do something that not a lot of people get out of. And I was actually just researching statistics. 100 people a day die of opioid overdoses. 100 people. And it's actually so many that the overall life expectancy in the US has declined for 3 years in a row, due to large part of opioid epidemic, reversing a half century trend. Overdoses kill more Americans than car crashes or gun violence. Addiction contributes to mass incarceration. It's something to remember. Like people get desperate when they're addicted, man. That's, people that are out robbing houses, people that are out robbing cars. Like they're doing this generally to feed an addiction. You know what I mean? That's at least in, I'm generalizing, but that's what I see a lot, at least based on the people that I knew, unfortunately. But, how are ways that we can end stigma surrounding addiction? So, ending the stigma is a complex problem, but, you can do like, instead of labeling somebody an addict, an alcoholic, a junkie, use language like a person. He has a substance use disorder. They have a, I don't necessarily like to say somebody has a disease, but it is actually classified as a disease. Whether or not we want to look at it like that or not, it doesn't matter. But the fact is, it's looked at like a disease, substance use disorder. Um, a lot of people will say it's a choice. I don't think I don't think it's as simple as that. And I've talked about it in my previous episodes, but like as far as it being a choice, it is and it isn't. So up until, I'm going to give you an example. Up until I take that first drink, I have the choice to not take that first drink. But after I take that first drink, something else takes over. That actually comes from Matthew Perry. I mentioned that in my last one. But so is addiction a choice? Is it a disease? So it's not an easy statement, and even science doesn't agree either way. Uh, I I believe it's a hybrid answer, just like the idea of nature versus nurture. Um, there's no simplistic thing. There's no like, hey, this is what it's going to be, right? But things that you can do, especially if you have an addict in your family, is treat them like a person, help them in any ways you can. Try not to enable these people. You know what I mean? But in other ways, dispelling myths and stereotypes, challenge misinformation about addiction through public awareness campaigns, educational resources, open discussions, highlighting stories of recovery. Share stories of people who have successfully overcome addiction. That's my goal right now, is to share stories like mine, for instance, of people who have conquered addiction, people who have, are continuing to try to do things and help other people to avoid going back to that nonsense. You know what I mean? Examining your own biases. This is a big one. Reflect on your attitudes and beliefs about addictions and challenge any unconscious biasness that attribute to this. That's important because a lot of people have a view on addiction. It's obvious. You get on forums, man. People are not kind about this kind of crap. Not at all. It's wild. That. Let's see what else I got here. I'm doing a short one tonight because my kids are and they're murdering each other already. That's what happens when you have a 11-year-old watching a 4-year-old. But it is what it is. Um, let's see. What else do we got? No single approach. Efforts to reduce stigma must be multifaceted to address the issue from various angles. I think it's very important, man. Like, I have somebody who I've been trying to work on to get him to quit doing drugs and alcohol. I hope this person's watching right now. And again, I did a whole TikTok about it. You can't give somebody's life meaning. You can't give somebody the answer. All you can do is show somebody the door and, show them that you're there for them no matter what. But there's a fine line between being there and enabling somebody. You know what I mean? Like, all you can really do is share your story and offer them a hand, offer them a different perspective. But most of the time, people who are addicted to drugs, this is coming from a place of trauma. And if you can't figure out why you keep relapsing, if you can't figure out why you keep going back to the alcohol or drugs, it's you're trying to kill something inside of you. That's the key. That's that's the answer. That's what you learn when you start going to therapy. That's what you learn when you use, like, medication assisted therapy. You learn that you are trying to kill trauma. That's like, get right down to it. For any addict, they're probably trying to kill trauma in their life, kill pain that's inside of them. And what's the answer? How do you heal trauma? The only thing you can do is keep facing it, keep like going to therapy and talking to somebody is probably the best thing you can possibly do. Sitting there silent and not trying to heal your life or heal the things that have happened in your past is not going to lead you to a better peace of mind. It's just going to keep you where you're at. Oh my goodness. This tea is freaking killing me. Yeah. Here's an example of an addiction, caffeine. I'll be the first to tell you that I've pretty much been addicted to everything in my life. And it's given me the perspective that I have now. Like, am I where I completely want to be in my life? No, but I'm in a position to do whatever it is that I want to do because I chose to not go back to the drugs or the alcohol. And believe me, alcohol to me is difficult. It's like, of all the ones that I've quit, like, I think about alcohol more often than not. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to push for these podcasts and push to try to talk to people about addiction to drugs and alcohol. And people laugh at you when you talk about addiction to alcohol. They're like, oh my God, I couldn't live without drinking beer with my buddies. And dude, it's everywhere. Everywhere you look, alcohol is there. It's all over billboards, it's all over TV, it's all over your, everybody that is anybody just drinking everywhere. You know what I mean? It's hard to find a community of sober people. So, this is what I'm trying to do, trying to talk to people about anything I can. But honestly, it's a struggle. Yeah, if anybody wants to know the one that I struggle with the most, not going back to, that's alcohol. But it's been since July of 2015. So was that going on 9 years this year without alcohol? And that to me is big. So every time I think about it, I'm like, man, I would be throwing away freaking 9 years of sobriety to for what? Something that I know is not going to fix the problem. That's the thing. Like, I was addicted to the person that I became when I drank. This person that didn't care about anybody, what anybody thought. Like, got rid of my anxiety, got rid of my fear. I love that person, honestly. And I strive to try to, unlock that part of me in certain areas because the confidence that I had is just out of control. And that's why it's hard for me. But, I know that if that person can be brought out by alcohol, it can be brought out by, not, other ways too. I don't know where I'm going there. By the way, this is live for anybody that is watching, watching in the future too. So when I mess up or jumble my words, it's because it's live. But those that know me well know that, like, as much as I enjoyed myself when I was on alcohol, there was also a dark side of me that other people did not enjoy. And I could probably tell a million stories. As a matter of fact, I'm going to eventually tell a million stories about my alcohol times because nobody believes me when I tell it. Like, we did some crazy, crazy crap, man. Like, the amount of times I had to call my sister to come pull me out of a ditch in the middle of the night because I wrecked my car, or you just all the stupid crap. And I know people are going to hate on me and be like, oh, you were driving drunk. Yep. I didn't say I was responsible. That's why I had to quit drinking, bro. That's why I had to quit, because nobody could tell me what to do. Nobody, I did what I wanted. Crashed my car a couple times. Never got a DUI though, which is nuts. But I always felt like I had somebody looking out for me because there's no freaking way that I shouldn't have got a DUI in all that time. And neither did, several of my other friends. Like, it's crazy. Like, I think the way to do it is to just do it to such excess that the paperwork is too much for the cops to write, I guess. Oh, ridiculous, man. I don't know. But again, the whole reason I'm doing this is because it's important to talk about addiction, talk about ending the stigma, and realizing that people are more than their addiction. Again, I'm more than my past. Every time I talk to people about it, I'm hesitant because people look at you differently when they found out hey, this guy was addicted to drugs. This guy was addicted, alcohol addiction. People tend to laugh about. They don't take it seriously because, again, I've explained that, everybody drinks. It's a normal thing. And I'm not saying that it's not okay to have a few drinks. That's on you. That's, you do you. Like, for some of us just can't have a few drinks. That's what I'm getting at. I can't just sit down and go drink 2 beers. I'm gonna sit there and drink an entire 12-pack while I'm chilling. But anyway, I've droned on about that one enough. Anyway, Yeah, so I was again watching that freaking Jackass show and or watching the thing about Bam Margera and him trying to get clean. It sparked me, man. It sparked something in me and made me want to continue doing this. I'm going to eventually be having people on here with me to talk about their stories. My cousin gave me the idea, like I could video chat with him and probably, save his storyline and tell his story because he's got a crazy freaking story too. And I want to share more recovery stories and bring more awareness to the subject and see if we can, the more you talk about it, the more you, again, change the stigma on the subject itself. And I think that's very important. A lot of people, when I share my story, they have no freaking idea because I'm a very different person than I used to be. I recognize that going through what I went through has opened my eyes in a way that nothing else could. Facing my trauma and facing the addiction, you know, made me into this person that I am now. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is like, or a lot of people don't get is when when you actually go through something, you end up on the other side of pain. And so I don't know where I'm going with this. Too much caffeine. So I call it like a spiritual awakening. Sometimes, in order to have like a spiritual awakening or whatever you want to go, you have to go through an immense amount of trauma. You have to go through the like the darkness to end up at the light at the other side. And sometimes, oh, damn it, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second here. Let me collect myself. There we go. I'm honestly thankful for everything that I've been through. As much and as crazy as that is to say, again, everything that I've been through has made me what I am today. And I understand why exactly I got on drugs. I understand why exactly I was a hardcore alcoholic. And again, I was trying to kill a pain that's inside of me that I wasn't able to kill with anything else. And that's the honest to God truth. So when I was able to eventually conquer my addiction and then continue to go to therapy and able to get on the other side of the trauma, which I still haven't completely healed, it's not as easy as just, hey, I'm healed from the trauma. It's consistent repetition. It's consistent, forgiveness. And forgiveness is something I've talked about many times. Like that is the only way out of it is to truly forgive. Forgive yourself, forgive everybody that's wronged you, and that's how you move on from the stuff. But that doesn't come without work because you can say, "Hey, I forgive you," but you have to truly mean it. You have to truly feel those feelings. You know what I mean? But anyway, here we are. I think I'm going to end this in just a few minutes, but I appreciate you for watching. I know if Beth, you're still there, I'm assuming that's you. I'm grateful that you watched the stuff. Like me and Ricky are going to be back on Monday, but you can literally hear my kids in there fighting each other. But yeah, that's my intention. Tend to talk about bringing people on to talk about more about addiction. Appreciate you. More about addiction. Sorry, I'm not my usual self. It's been a rough week, but even going, even as much as I feel like I'm on an evolved path, I still struggle with mental health problems every single day. For those that don't know, I was diagnosed with social anxiety disorder, freaking major depression, anxiety, like all kinds of stuff. And I'm supposed to have taken meds for quite a long time, and I choose not to because I don't like the way that the meds make me feel, and I never, all the research I've done into psychology and working towards my BA, I've realized that meds are not. They're a temporary thing. They're designed to get you feeling right in the moment to where you can seek therapy. Everything comes back to seeking therapy and seeking help, especially with the addiction, any of this stuff. It's about seeking help and actually working on the problem. A lot of people build entire lifetimes around entire stories, entire lives around their trauma, and you know that's not really who they even are. So you end up like me, where you have no actual idea who you are outside of the trauma, outside of that stuff. So you're left with an identity crisis, and that's where I've been, to be completely honest. You know what I mean? I'm still working every day to try to figure out who this person is, and it's fun. Maybe every day I got to be a different person. Who knows? Anyway, I'm gonna cut it short because I'm about to explode from the caffeine. I didn't realize how much was in this tea. I think it's giving me heart palpitations. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Many, many blessings.